Hi, welcome back, y'all. Listen, man, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and let's get right into this one. A lot of the times we talk about rappers that die, rappers that are involved in drugs and guns and gang activities. It's all negative, right? So it's only right that we balance the scales and talk about some positive stuff. And it's good to see some people who've been here who are still here, which tells us that longevity is not only in rock and roll and white people music. We could get longevity out of our music too. Brothers and sisters just have to understand the business side of the business and know how to move. Shout out to MSN for this one. T.I. T.I. gears up to create his first real estate development, affordable housing, in the Bankhead community where he grew up. Listen to this. T.I. is actually using his interest in real estate to directly benefit the people in his community. This is what you call giving back to the bottom, to where you come from. Grind your way up from the bottom, but don't forget that you come from the bottom and there are others there just like you. You are a gem. You are a diamond in the rough. And you know that there are other diamonds in the rough there as well. They just need an opportunity and somebody that believes in them to reach back and say, hey, here's a helping hand, come on up. And they'll climb that ladder to success just like you. In other words, when you make it, don't close the door, right? So while on stage with Dame Dash and DJ Envy for informative dialogue with the Earn Your Leisure Network, T.I. shared real estate was his first step to diversifying his portfolio starting back in 2001. So he's been doing this quietly. You see a lot of rappers, you see them with a lot of money, and a lot of the times we find out at the end of their career that all that money was fake money, or all that money was spent on frivolous things like fast women, fast cars, expensive clothes, and they don't even have a decent house to live in. They die without health insurance and they die without money in the bank. Well, not T.I. T.I. is definitely trying to make sure that that does not happen to him. I know right now is a distracting time because his son is going at it on social media. His son is coming of age and going through his own changes, and that could be overshadowing a whole lot of what's going on, but let's stick to the positive. So, as Afrotech previously mentioned, T.I. has an estimated net worth of $50 million as of October 10th, 2022. Who would have thought? Not so bad for a little boy from Bankhead, from the hood, from the ghetto, from the bottom, to have come up. That's a come up. A net worth estimated at $50 million. And some of that can be credited to his major investments in real estate, with one of his homes valued at $2 million. Now, although impressive, the rapper's interest in real estate have focused less on residential properties and more on commercial properties. That's his thing. He also recognizes the sector provides another avenue to directly give back to his community and announce his first real estate development, mixed use affordable housing, will be open soon in Bankhead. So, of course, residential means houses that people can live in, and commercial spaces are spaces where people would use to open businesses. Restaurants, movie theaters, dance studios, you name it. So, he was on the commercial side of things for the longest. Nonetheless, still real estate. And now he's going to get into the affordable housing side of things, which for sure, I think there's a lot of money in that to be made. I was just speaking to somebody the other day and I said, I want to get a couple of houses or a couple of multifamily houses, duplexes and whatnot. I would prefer low income housing, actually. Why? Because usually these low income properties, believe it or not, If these families are on, say, Section 8, then the government pays their rent. Now, here's the thing. When you are being paid by the government, you get that money rain, hail, sleet, snow, sunshine, whatever the weather is. There's never an excuse. The government's never going to say, stop, we can't afford it this month. However, when you deal with people, there's always hiccups. Somebody lost their job, somebody can't afford to pay you this month, and all that other stuff. So I was thinking more along the lines of that. For myself, that is. Anyhow, back to this whole T.I. thing. So real estate was the first step that I took. This is what T.I. said. He said real estate was the first step that I took to diversifying my portfolio. I started buying and flipping houses in 2001 with my uncle. As it grew, I went from residential to commercial and just continued to buy, build, and grow. And now it's grown to a place I'm about to complete my first real estate development, mixed use affordable housing right on Bankhead where I grew up at. Just seeing how much good use I can put my money to, you know what I mean? Because there was so many times I could have went and bought things that were more liabilities than they were assets. And I have still done that too, but I see how much more value the money can bring, not just for myself, but for others as well. That's how we can build communities, you know? You know what I mean? Now, not just have your money represent us, but have our money represent our community as well. You know, T.I. believes that affordable housing can be a solution to gentrification that has wrongfully forced many in Atlanta, Georgia, out of their homes. For those of you who don't know, gentrification means when you live in this neighborhood, right? Remember, a lot of people who grew up in lower income neighborhoods, they grew up with fond memories of those neighborhoods, even though people might call them hoods and people might be like, oh, I'm afraid to go over there because, you know, it's a bad neighborhood. A lot of people that grew up in those neighborhoods have fond memories. That's where grandmama house was at. That's where the church was at. That's where everybody gathered on Sundays at or Saturdays at, etc. So what happens over time is real estate developers get in there and they change ownership of these buildings. The buildings get sold to other people who have bright ideas. Hey, let's raise the rent so high that the people that are living here now can no longer afford to live here. Then that's one way of getting everybody to move out. Then once they move out, they'll fix up the neighborhood, they'll redo the neighborhood, you know, put a new face on it. It looks brand new, it looks flossy, and then they'll move a whole new set of people into that neighborhood. Kind of like how they did with a lot of parts in Brooklyn, New York. I remember Brooklyn, New York when I used to live there. And then I go back there and I'm like, yo, this place looks completely different. And people are like, yeah, it's really nice now. And there are cameras on every street and cameras in all the buildings. And I'm like, who lives here? Who can afford to live here? Because the rent now is like $3,500 a month for a one-bedroom apartment. It was $700 back in the day when I was living there. So that, my friend, is called gentrification. Oh, the biggest part of gentrification is that the faces change. And I'm not talking about as in your grandmama not here no more, so Miss Ivy is still here. Or I'm talking about the faces as in race changes. So T.I. is saying that investing our money in our community and having our money work for us in our community is a good way, a good solution to gentrification that has wrongfully forced many in Atlanta, Georgia, out of their homes. He believes that the people who created the culture should rightfully have a place in the city to call home. Now, you know, Atlanta is popping. Everybody wants to be in Atlanta now, especially if, you know, you're on the business side of things or if you're on the artistic side of things. moving and shaking, you want to be in Atlanta. A lot of business goes down in Atlanta, a lot of money to be made in Atlanta. However, it didn't just become like that overnight. A set of people paved the way. And that's what T.I. is saying, that those people shouldn't then be gentrified, thrown out. The place got too expensive for them to live, and now a whole new set of people are going to come and enjoy this reputation that the city has built. It was built on the backs of those people, and they deserve to be able to still afford to live there as well. Now, with gentrification, 95% of the people who work in Atlanta, they cannot afford to live in Atlanta because the natives of the community, they've been pushed out by big people who come in with the big developments. Our grandparents and great-grandparents, the houses that they worked very hard to own for decades, now they can't afford to pay the taxes. They lose their houses. Now we are living on the outskirts of the city, looking into the city that we built. That changes a lot of things within the infrastructure of the city, whether that's politics, it changes the culture. So we have to make sure that the people who made this city and the culture of this city, what it is, still have a place in the city and can still afford to stay here. Somebody has to be a part of that change. That's what T.I. said. T.I. is also strengthening his portfolio with companies that align with his mission to help underserved communities. The rapper candidly spoke about his development and his involvement with a company called Moola Mobile. Moola Mobile is a platform that was created by entrepreneur Vernell Woods that helps people from low-income communities pay their phone bills by paying them for watching ads and completing surveys, as Afrotech previously told you. This tablet will offer Wi-Fi and just services to areas in our community that will try to keep things away from us. That's how they keep the information away from us. Most people who live in the hood, they don't even have the proper Wi-Fi services. That's what I'm saying. So I think that we found a way to have the people make money and have the government subsidize some things in our community that are necessary. And that's Moola Wireless and Moola Tablets, T.I. said. In August of 2022, T.I. partnered with a company to distribute 200 Moola tablets to Morris Brown College students, and 12 months of data service went along with those 200 tablets. All Hip Hop reported that story. The gesture was to ensure that the HBCU student, which is a historically black college or university student, could have a stepping stone towards success by providing opportunities through technology. Yes, President Kevin James and T.I. handling business for Morris Brown College was the headline of that event. Now, that's a good thing. So, yeah, it isn't always bad news. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, he did a whole lot of trap music back in the day and perpetuated a whole lot of, the violence and drug selling, glorification of drug dealing and all that other stuff. So it's only right that he pay restitution by turning around and doing something positive. But hey, listen, at the end of the day, what it really is you have to find a way to come up first, and then you can help others. You know what I'm saying? So if you are still at the bottom thinking holy and righteous and you can't get yourself out and all you have is your holy righteous thoughts while you're in poverty, you're just going to be stuck in your holy righteous ways and be in poverty. You won't be able to help yourself or others. So I don't really care what type of music he sold before or what image he sold before. The point is he raised a family and he also is worth a whole lot today, which puts him in a position to be able to help a whole lot of people, which other people might not look at as someone that they would give their help to. With that said, I'll leave that right there. Shout out to T.I., man, for doing big things and keeping it really, really G. Hit that subscribe button. Click the bell next to the subscribe button so you're notified every time a new video goes up on. You already know. And if it's hot, you already know we're on it. I'm out. Peace.